What's up, everybody? I have sure missed you. Welcome to Bonfire Talks. I'm your host, Mark Walberg, with my good friend and producer, Caelan Bean. I haven't seen you in a while, Caelan. Hi, buddy.
It's good to see you, Mark.
Good to see you, too.
I missed you.
I missed you, too. Although, being in Hawaii, you don't miss much. You know, you get in the bubble in Hawaii, and it's pretty delicious. So, yeah, I was taping a new season of Temptation Island that's going to be coming out next year a little bit. I can't tell you when, and I can't tell you much about it, but I'm going to do my best to talk about that. But before we do that, I just want to let you know that for many of you, you may not see this podcast at all. So I'm going to record it anyway. But if the rapture comes today as it's scheduled, I'm going to lose a big portion of my audience, I think. I think I'll still be here is what I'm getting at. If the rapture comes later today, I'll say goodbye to some very good friends, but I'll probably still be here. So for those of you still remaining,
rapture's not taking Jewish people, right?
Well, I think you got to. I think part of the rapture thing is that you have to, accept Jesus and be a Christian, and those are the people that are going to go up to heaven, at least on this first batch. And I don't think I'm on that bus. So,
I feel like you embody a lot of Jesus' teachings.
We should not get, for risk of canceling myself, I don't want to get too deep into the religious thing, but I think about this all the time, because by the numbers, if you don't say the words and accept, that doctrine as yours, you're not getting sent up in the rapture.
Even if you live that life.
Right. So I think of things like my wife's grandmother, who never said a harsh word to anybody and was just a stand for peace and love her whole life. Does she not get to go? I mean, I'm always kind of stuck on that, like who gets to go and who doesn't. I can tell you now that nobody's contacted me and told me to pack. So I'm assuming that when and if the rapture happens, which I guess is going to happen after lunch, because it's still the morning here. So I'm assuming it wasn't the first thing this morning, which I kind of expected. So if in fact this prophesied rapture happens today, I'm trying to look on the positive. And one of the positives is far less traffic going home. Mm. You got to assume, right? Unless people leave their cars on the freeway as they're raptured up, that could be a problem. But so those of you who are going to ascend today, I wish you the best. I'm happy for you. I know this is something that you've been looking forward to, and
this is yesterday as you're hearing this, so they would have already gone up.
That's what I'm saying is, like, who am I talking to? A bunch of sinners? Is that who's left?
Yeah, more like, I'm sorry, guys, but the ones that are still here, you guys are sinners. Yeah.
For those of you who are still here, well, fuck us.
Sucks for you.
Although, quite frankly, and again, you're watching this the day after we're recording it. So I kind of would like to see this whole rapture thing. I think it's going to be pretty sick. I always think of that movie with Seth Rogen and what's his name? James Franco and all those guys, where it's the end of the world and the rapture happens. And I'm like, well, that's kind of crazy. So anyway, for those of you who are in heaven, I think you can download my podcast at Apple Podcast in heaven. And congratulations on your rapture, and I hope the ride was fun. And for those of you who are still here, let's have a podcast together. So there you go.
Those people that are still here are going to need some therapy, Mark, and I think you're a good one to
I think we're going to have to. Yeah, we're going to have to. I'm going to have a purpose. I assume you're going to be with me as well. Like, you're not going?
I'm baptized. Does that count?
You're probably going.
I think I'm going.
All right, so I'm glad we're getting this done today. So if you're a podcast producer and also a sinner, I may need you. So, let me know. Send your resumes after the rapture, and you can put that in the subject line, post-rapture position, and then I'll vet them and see if I can find somebody that's a kind sinner that would be a good podcast producer for me. But so if you're going today, my baptized friend, have a safe trip.
It's been fun.
It's been really great.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed our time together on this planet. And send me a message if you can.
Mm-hmm. I'll leave you comments on the YouTube channel.
That'd be even better. I think those go viral. If you get post-rapture comments from the other world, I think that would be sick. So I'm psyched about that. And you know what's funny about that is that I grew up in the Deep South. I've talked about this before on the podcast, that being Jewish in the Deep South was not terrible. It wasn't like I was getting, harassed all the time, but there was always a rub of people trying to convert me to Christianity, and I get it, and I'm grateful, and I know it comes from a place of love, worrying about my salvation. It's not anything other than that, so I really have been able to process the fact that was actually, although possibly misguided for me, was out of love. But I think about how it had instilled in me as a kid this fear of when this thing happens, the end of the world and fire and brimstone and all that stuff. But because the world is the way it is these days, the thought of rapture, like this is the end of the world today, is going to be a few hours of like scary, uncomfortable. But in the end, it almost feels like relief. So, it's been a good run. And I feel like I've spent my time on this planet in a good way. And if I'm still here, I'll continue to do so with those of you who are left, and I'll miss those of you who are gone. So happy Rapture Day for all of you that it applies. For the rest of us, it's just Tuesday, or for those of you listening, it's Wednesday. Anyway, I've been gone, and if you can't tell from my golden tan, which was curated perfectly with sunscreen and limited time in the sun, I have been in Hawaii doing another season of Temptation Island. I'll pause for applause. Thank you. Thank you. And it's going to be good, you guys. I'm excited for you. I really got into it. I got to do what I love to do. And it puts me at, this is one of the things that Caelan and I were talking about right before we started to record that maybe I should get into, is that I got into this business to have a career. Like I had nothing noble in mind. I was just like, I don't have a college degree. I don't know how to do anything. I'll start working in TV and maybe something will happen. And now I find myself here doing this show that, as I've said many times before, often looks like porn and feels like Oprah. And I guess I get to be that Oprah role a little bit. And that nothing about that was planned. It just came from who I am a little bit. And what is a juxtaposition in my career that's difficult for me to reconcile is reality TV in general can be unreal and surreal and not particularly honest all the time. It can be sometimes like professional wrestling, in its worst version. Mm-hmm. And yet what I've tried to do, and it wasn't a conscious effort, was to be sincere and authentic even in this arena. And it is not without some baggage and concern on my part of, how do I navigate that? Where do I stand in creating TV that's riveting and fun to watch and messy and crazy and all that stuff, but still stay true to what's important to me, which is emotional intelligence and talking about how to make love work and the things that apparently the audience has come to know me for.
Yeah, I mean, you're legitimately trying to help people on your reality TV show, which is not something I think I've really seen from other reality TV show hosts before.
It may be the most futile attempt at something ever done, but thank you for saying so. It's just, I guess it's my general nature, and I truly do invest in the couples and the singles come on the show. And this was no different. This was a different bag of tricks. The show's different this season than it has been in the past. And I'm excited for that because it's another flavor, another color of how relationships manifest. And without getting too much into it, one of the biggest discussions, Caelan, that came up this season is on the first, by the way, the opening of the show this year, as epic as anything I've done on television in my life. Like Apocalypse Now scale of helicopters. I shouldn't say all this, but it crazy.
Yeah.
So my first meeting of the couples, which, to remind you guys, I don't meet them beforehand. I know very little, if anything, about any of them other than their names when they arrive. But the conversation I have on the first day of the show happens on this edge of this Hawaiian bluff, like 300, 400 feet above the water. It's spectacular. That we pulled it off as it's literally the biggest setup from a television standpoint I've ever been a part of in my career.
Wow.
Like the amount of equipment and people we had in the middle of nowhere, and the number of people that worked a full day without having to pee was a miracle unto itself. But the first question I always ask these couples is, what are your rules going into this? And they always have them. I don't want to do anything physical. You can go on dates, but don't kiss, don't hold hands, don't do this, don't do that. And the question that came up for me in the moment, and I put to you, and it plays out in the series actually, is, and it was an honest question. It wasn't me manipulating the situation, Caelan. It wasn't me trying to, mind fuck people. But I said, these rules that you just told me, I said, and I've said this before, I kind of laugh when you tell me rules because I know that once the show starts and once you start getting into it, things go sideways and none of that really applies. And the whole reason you're here that you thought you were here shifts, which I think is true in life. You think these are your problems. You think this is what you're working on. And then when you start to work on those things, you realize there's so much behind that created this, that this is more a symptom of something bigger that you've yet to discover. And that's kind of where I'm trying to drive the show all the time. So I said to the couples, I said, these boundaries you've just told me, I get, and I wish you luck on them. And there's something to be said for not cheating. But going through this entire experience on the show and not cheating on your boyfriend or girlfriend, that's not hard to do. It's just not hard to do. Just don't do it. It's not like you're there for 6 months. You can get through it and not cheat. So good for you. That'd be great. But the question I asked them is, do these boundaries you've put in place serve you or stand in the way of your progress? And it chokes in my throat when I say it because part of that sounds like I'm trying to instigate or push them to act out. And I try to be very clear and say, this is not me telling you that you need to get physical with somebody else. What I'm trying to say is, in life, in general, when we're on a quest for some truth about who we are, the safe route does not provide as many answers for you or your partner as the dangerous route. That there's value in taking chances, even if those chances you take might hurt the other person, for what it might reveal for you. So that was how we started this thing, where I was saying to a few of the people on the show, look, I respect your boundaries. I'm here to support you on these boundaries. Good luck on that. It's not going to take a lot of work. But why are you really here? And do these boundaries that you put, this safety zone of what you're not going to do, that you predisposed, do they serve you in becoming a better person, or do they stand in your way? I'll give you the answer. They stand in your way. Period. It's a path to returning home to the exact same relationship you came here with. So let's take that out of reality TV and bring it into the real world. If you don't ask the hard questions of each other and yourself, but more importantly of yourself, you won't get the truth that is going to serve you. The work of becoming emotionally intelligent, the work of having a healthy relationship with the person you love is in the danger zone. It's into looking across the kitchen table to the person that you say you love and asking yourself questions in front of them that are the dangerous questions, considering the worst possible outcomes, so that you can discover why you're in whatever rut you're in. If it's just about pleasing the other person and doing what's expected all the time, then you will have a very comfortable and respectable relationship, which is great. But will you have grown to the point where you have a connection that's so deep that it's unbreakable? And what I keep trying to tell people on the show is, do you want to have a nice, comfortable relationship? I literally used this phrase at one point. I'm like, if 70%, 75% of your relationship is firing and working great, but there's this 25% that's either nagging you or really upsetting you, but I don't need to worry about that because 75% of it is great, well, then the phrase C's get degrees comes up for me. Congratulations, you're going to pass the class. But you're going to live your life in a 75% relationship. And I think so many people, and myself included in times of my life, are happy to have that, especially as you get older, Caelan. As you get older and you're single and you're looking for somebody, you start to acquiesce. You're like, and the underlying theme might be, I don't know if I deserve a full-out relationship. What I'll take is an 80% relationship, somebody that I get to go to parties with, somebody who's nice to me, we can have a glass of wine together, that we have great sex and stuff like that. But the deeper connection, the stuff that you don't think you're either have the ability to access or, quite frankly, you don't think you're worthy of having, and the past has proven that you can't have that, that's what happens if you stay in the comfort zone. And then you find yourself at my age looking across the table of somebody that you're a close friend to, and you're wondering why the passion's not there and why your life has come by, and you don't feel safe and you have questions and things like that. And so I guess that's the charge I have for you and for me, is that the safer you play things, the nicer you keep things, the more pleasant things are between you and your partner, the surface happy you will be in that you don't have drama today. But the braver road, or the road less traveled, as one might say, if I'm going to quote literature, poetry, is to ask the risky questions of yourself and your partner, with the understanding and the commitment that nothing can break us apart, that there's no question that's too deep or too dangerous that we can't be supportive of one another in that conversation to get a deeper truth. So that's, I had so much I wanted to talk about that was just catch up and immediately go to the deep area, which is typical of me. That's kind of what you have to look forward to in this next season. Is kind of that vibe of what's going on there, of risk taking as opposed to safe playing, or what's it really about? Is it we always think it's about the other person, and it's just not about the other person ever. So if your point is to prove to the other person that you're trustworthy, that's not the same as being trustworthy and not feeling you need to prove it, which is hard to get your head around. But that's a whole other story. Ultimately, for me, the time I had in Hawaii was healing and reflective, and I learned a lot about myself, actually, in the process, mostly to let people do what they're going to do, whether you agree with it or not, and to stay in your lane and do what you can to help and be a force for clarity and positivity and stuff like that. It was great to go back to work after it's been quite some time and see crew members that I'm now friends with, that we keep up with, and check back in with them, hug each other, be, entrenched in doing stuff that we love to do. We're also grateful to work, so much gratitude. And then I was in Hawaii, and that's really the bigger thing here, is that, it's an escape. One of the things I love about Hawaii is everything that's going on in the world is also going on in Hawaii, but the focus in Hawaii is less about that. One of the things I love about, and I'm trying to take very hard to keep the vibe you have there when you come home to the mainland, but the vibe of that people work several jobs in Hawaii often, but they're not about their jobs at all. They're just working those jobs to pay for the things they have to pay for to then live their life, which is surfing and sun and agriculture and connection and community and tribe and stuff like that. And that mindset, I don't think we embrace as much here on the mainland as you kind of get sucked up into in Hawaii. So I really, really leaned into that. I had some amazing moments. I hang out with my friends, the Grips, a lot, and that vibe was outrageous. And I'm sorry, guys, because I could have recorded it while it was happening and let you in on these moments I was having that were so great. But out of respect for the moment I was having, I chose not to, but I can tell you about it. So we'd finish a bonfire. I'm all in my feelings. Everybody's exhausted. It's 1 a.m., and everybody's now finishing work. And I would always go to the, out in the parking lot, there's a big, like, easy up tent and, like, a container that you get on a ship with all the equipment, and a table where, at the end of the day, those grips that are all local Hawaiian from either Oahu, from Maui, from Big Island, or Molokai, kind of hang out and have a beer and just kind of debrief the day. And I'm so grateful that they include me in that. When we did the show back during COVID, we couldn't leave the hotel at all. So we were stuck together, and the place I went was hanging out with these guys. And they've been educating me over the years about Hawaiian culture, but generally their philosophy on life as opposed to what I've come to know, and I'm a better person for that time. When I tell you the vibe was outrageous. I came in there, cracked a beer. I didn't crack a beer. As I sat down, they cracked a beer and handed it to me, and we're all sitting there having a beer, and we're just having a great conversation, talking about the show, talking about life, catching up. And two of the grips that were working this season are also really great musicians. So they literally have ukuleles out, and they're singing, like, Hawaiian songs and some covers, and they're playing ukulele at an expert level, and the vibe was, like, so special. I was so glad I was present to it. Like, I was literally just there going, I've got a seat at a table that I normally wouldn't have a seat at, where this is real. The love they have for each other, the respect they have for each other, the understanding of the history and generational and ancestral path that has been taken to get them to this point was really amazing. We talked about everything, and it was great. It's great to have a place like that. I encourage you to find a tent of your own where the people around the table have no judgment of you, that the talk can be unedited and free and supportive. And so for all of you guys in the grip department on the show, thank you for providing that for me. It was really helpful, especially after, a work day of really getting into this emotional stuff. It was great to decompress with people who kind of lifted me up. So that was awesome. Goldie came out for 10 days with Tucker, her boyfriend, and that was fun just because she's funny, and we had a great time, and she made me do a bunch of TikToks that I'm embarrassed about, but you can check it out on her TikTok because they're not on mine. So Lazy Ballerina, at Lazy Ballerina on TikTok, we did some crazy stuff. And meanwhile, maybe a metaphor, I don't know, Kilauea was going off. The volcano was erupting the whole time I was there, and some days you get what they call VOG, which is volcanic smog. And but that was crazy to think of. And I kind of tripped on that while I'm sitting here, the island is growing. This eruption from the middle of the earth is happening like 2 hours from where I am. So that was pretty insane. And it also it's always a honeymoon for Robbie and I. So that's always great. She supports me, and we had a great time, and, enjoyed the island, enjoyed the food, enjoyed the people, and got the show done. And it's going to be great. And I'm looking forward for you to see it. Here's some things coming up I want you to be aware of in my world. The podcast is back up in full swing, so thank you for bearing with me over the break that I've taken. I'm going on the road starting October 1st, and I'm going to be hosting a stage version of Wheel of Fortune Live, where people in the audience get to come up and play the game, and I get to host it. And I'm going to talk more about that in an upcoming episode. But go to wheeloffortunelive.com. and see what cities I'm going to be in. I'm going to be there from October 1st to October 21st, then again from November 6th to the 26th. So check wheeloffortunelive.com for the cities on those dates, and come see me if you like Wheel of Fortune. Even if you don't like Wheel of Fortune, come. It's fun. And then I will hang out because I usually come out afterwards, and then if you're there, come say hello, and we can chop it up a little bit. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see my friends there and get on the road and sleep on a bus and do that whole thing. So that's coming up. The other thing I want to promote, if I can plug, is that's this movie, Caelan, that I did a few years ago.
Yeah. I
Lost
remember
and Found in Cleveland, with Martin Sheen and June Squibb and Stacy Keach and John Lovitz and Jeff Hiller, who we had on the show.
Congratulations
From Somebody
to Jeff
Somewhere.
Hiller.
Congratulations to Jeff Hiller. It's my first guest who is, since they've been on my show, has won an Emmy. Although Mark DiCarlo will tell you about his 3 Emmys, but I want to remind you those are regional Emmys. But he won the big one. He won an Emmy, Best Supporting Actor, I think, in a comedy or something like that. So congratulations, Jeff Hiller, on that. So the movie is coming out in theaters November 6th, I think. So that's crazy. Look for that. It's sweet. And I'm going to be...
kind of like a Best in Show style.
It kind of is a little bit. So it's kind of like the whole concept is Lost and Found in Cleveland. The title of the movie is the title of a TV show within the movie, which is basically Antiques Roadshow. It's Lost and Found as America's favorite televised appraisal event, and this episode is in Cleveland, and it's about 4 or 5 stories revolving around items that they want to bring to the event, but then their stories are what the movie's about. Dennis Haysbert, who I love, Dennis Haysbert. My favorite is he's Serrano in Major League, but he's had an incredible career. He's a big star in this movie, and Loretta Devine's in this movie, and a lot of great actors. My big scene is with John Lovitz, which is really fun for me, and I think you'll enjoy it. So check that out. I'm going to be on MSNBC, I think, on Morning Joe, around the 1st of November, like the 3rd of November. So join me for that. And I think we're all caught up on all things Mark Walberg, or Mark L. Walberg. Mark Walberg is doing great, by the way.
I think Mark L. Wahlberg's doing pretty good,
I'm
too.
doing pretty good, too. I'm feeling pretty good, and, all is going well. So, yeah, that's the catch-up, Caelan. I missed you for sure, but it was really great to be there. What I'm grappling with, and I'll touch on right now, but I'm going to get into in the next episode, is how I feel and how you probably feel in the wake of all the things that have happened recently in our country that have us so divided. If I didn't think we could be more divided than we were, and then crazy, horrible, horrific things have happened, and it's weighing so heavy on me. So the question I'm going to be asking in the next episode is, what can we do to keep our sanity, and what can we do to be an instrument of change, activism in a different way? I'm not saying don't get out and protest for what you believe in. That's just not me. I'm not that dude. So I woke up this morning feeling like I'm a coward, that I'm not using my platform to really speak politically about things. I don't think that's going to serve me or you. I'd rather talk about how do we protect ourselves emotionally, and who we are energetically to the world in these times of trouble, because that's more important. How you vote, what you protest, those type things we can all do in silence or loud as we want on Facebook, but I just don't necessarily believe that that's going to make any change. I don't think we're in a place where people are changing their minds, but what we can do is be who we're being is peace, who we're being is love, who we're being is connectedness, and it's a one-to-one thing, and I want to talk about how to do that, because I am actively working on doing that, and it has to do with this tour that's coming up. So we'll get into that in the next episode. So what are the other things I wanted to talk to you about, Caelan?
I mean, I think we were going to save that for the next
for the other one. Here's the thing I want to leave you with a little bit today is we have choices. In our love relationship, we have choices, and in our personal relationship with ourselves, we have choices we get to make. I think it's so easy for us to, and I do this all the time, to think that we are on a bus that we're not driving, and there's truth to just riding the bus and letting it go. But the constant feeling that we need to control things, that we need to change things, that we are a victim of the situations going on, leaves us really upset. So, I think we have choices right now that we can make to be happier and more peaceful. And most importantly, in our relationships with other people, I think this is the time where we hold the people that we love close. Of course, if you're raptured, you don't have to do that. It's all going to be great in the kingdom of heaven, and I'm excited for you. But while you're here for the next few hours, just hold the people close and take a second to breathe into all the things that are good and to be grateful for, and keep it simple. I get really in the weeds. I get really too much thinking. And Robbie calls it stinking thinking. I love her little phrases. And I have to go back to the simple things. The simple things are like, you wake up in the morning and you go, okay, I'm breathing. That's a big plus. That's good. I'm breathing. My heart's beating. So most of the things are solved right there. And then just take a moment and write down in your journals things you're grateful for, the littlest things to the biggest things. And that sort of right sizes me when I'm not feeling too excited or hopeful. I think that's the issue that I'm going to get into very soon, which is how do we nurture and keep hope alive in what seems to be a hopeless world that we're living in right now. So we'll get into that. I'm really having a hard time not getting into it right now. So first of all, congratulations to Jimmy Kimmel for making it back on the air. I feel like this was... let's go back to what I was saying about boundaries and stuff. I think that those risky, dangerous things that happen in our lives that look like terrible things, like, oh my God, what's happening to the world? He gets canceled. Or if you're of the opinion that he needed to be, and, this action happened and all this stuff, we can look at what that brings up for us emotionally that serves us. Those risky questions I talked about earlier. How does it serve us? Who do we want to be in these times to everybody else? So that's really what I want to leave you with today is, this goes back to Hawaii. When you go to Hawaii, it's very clear to me that when you're in Hawaii, you are sharing the space. In fact, you are asking permission to be in a land that's not yours. And when you have that mindset, you walk around in your life with a little bit more courtesy, a little bit more awareness that you're not the only one on the planet. So you're not being a Karen and trying to police everybody's behavior. You're asking permission to be on the planet with each other, right? So that's the thing that's going on in Hawaii that I'm very present to, that I'm trying very hard to bring back to my life here. That's what I want to leave you with today, that as you go through your day to day, can you look across the table, across the lane of the highway to the person who's honking at you and realize that whether you like it or not, we have to share the space that we're in, and we're all in the same boat. And is your thing that you're dug in to believe serving you more than letting go of the thing you're dug in to believe in hopes of having a different understanding of things? So I guess I'm obviously very much in my feelings today, but I guess what I'm trying to say to you guys is things are not as deep as they seem. See what you can do today to take care of your happiness. Do one mindless thing that brings you joy. And as a game, find somebody else that you run into who's obviously not feeling it, and do the smallest thing or say the smallest thing to see if you can shift where they're at to get them on your page of a little bit more peace and a little bit more joy, because we're all in this together, those of us who are still left after the rapture. So happy Rapture Day to everybody. And those of you who are watching this podcast didn't get called up. So, hey, not everybody gets in the Hall of Fame the first time. So, maybe there's another rapture coming. Maybe you go up on the 2.0 and I'll be there with you. In the meantime, we're here. Be kind to one another. I think that's all I got for you. But stay with me, because the next episode I'm going to do, we're going to go there. I have to go there. I'm not sleeping until I go there. So that's sort of precursor. This is part 1, and we'll start part 2 in a moment.